Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. I'm going to turn off the music so I don't get distracted. I love that kind of music, but we need to be heard. So, anyway, welcome. It's good to see you all. Welcome, welcome. So, welcome, Brian. Welcome, Annabelle. Welcome, Cotton Spun. Welcome, Satrium. It's good to see you guys. So, if it isn't obvious, today is the social media presence and interaction. And I don't think either of us claim to be experts, but we can tell you what we've seen and what we've experienced, and hopefully everybody can learn together. So I'm going to share the blurb on the panel, and then I'll do introductions, and then we'll get into it, okay? So if social media isn't mainly about selling your book or service, then what is it about? And what about followers and likes? Join us as we chat about effective use of major platforms. So, as always with my Conduit streams, please use the channel points below in the to ask a question. It's one channel point, and then it helps us kind of collect up the questions and not lose them. And it also helps highlight them so that we see them a little bit better, because sometimes there's a lot of text on the screen and it's hard to catch everything. So with that, Miss Melody, let's see. Yeah, okay. It's backwards on my screen for me.
I have multiple of you open.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, dear.
Okay, hi everyone, Melody Relody, live in the flesh. And yeah, I have been invited to this panel because I'm currently doing a master's degree on social media. So, hopefully I know something about social media. We'll see. I also run a few social media accounts for the Game at Homes channel, that kind of thing. But generally, my knowledge is a bit more theoretical. So we're going to see how it compares to other panelists and what people in chat might know. But yeah, very happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. And it's a great intro. So as you guys know, I am Amy Winters Voss, also known as Shy Red Fox. And I'll share my links here before, because I can't type and chat at the same time. I just can't. So I suggested this panel not because, again, I'm not an expert, but I've made plenty of mistakes I can share about. I can tell you what not to do in quite a few places. And so that's part of why I wanted to share this, because I see so many people just doing some really big mistakes, and I want to help people avoid some of the things that I've done, and then make my viewership and interaction go. I don't want that to happen to you guys. So there we are. So
learn from our mistakes.
Yes. That's a big part of it. So some of the platforms we may or may not get into, it'll probably be a lot about Twitter. There's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Discord, Tumblr. I just joined Mastodon, but I'm not as familiar with it. There's a whole bunch of them. So we'll kind of talk about some. And if you have questions, again, use the channel points, and we'll do what we can to ask or to answer. We might ask too, you know. So, Melody, I think you're the best one to answer our first question of why is follow for follow bad?
Oh dear. Okay, so for people who are not aware of the follow for follow like practice on social media, basically it's where you want to get a lot of followers really fast and you're not sure how to do it, and you see someone using a follow for follow hashtag, so you're like, oh, I'll do that too, and all of a sudden you get loads of people following you. Of course you have to follow them back, and short-term wise, sure, it's okay, you might get, you know, a couple hundred followers really quickly. Then you start getting a lot of bots following you, and then the algorithm doesn't like you anymore. Not great. And then before we had the bot issue, we also had a bunch of people would follow you, you'd go to sleep, and then you'd wake up and all your followers are gone. They're not interested in you anymore. Oh, wait a minute, they were bots. And it's kind of something, it's a trap a lot of people fall into. And the issue is it's not just the hashtag follow for follow. There's a lot of like hashtags which are follow for follow hashtags that use different names. So one that I didn't know about, found out about this yesterday, was a hashtag called Writers
Yes.
which I was like, hey, have you two seen have you seen this this hashtag before? What is it? And it's like, oh, that's the following hashtag, don't interact. So probably the best advice in this situation is make sure you know what the hashtag that you're tagging your post with actually is. Don't use a hashtag just because you see a bunch of people using it. Because basically the issue with those kind of hashtag ecosystems is that you get a lot of like inauthentic followers, people who aren't really following you for you, people who aren't even real, and it just kind of messes with your social media presence, messes with how the algorithm perceives you, because it just kind of might label you as a bot if you have all these empty followers. And it's not good. Short-term gains, yes, amazing. Long-term gains, absolutely catastrophic. Do not do it, I think, would be the best way.
Can I add to that?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Seeing from a writer's perspective, yes, you could start to get some interaction, especially from the writer's list, because people mean well with this. It's like, oh, if you don't have a lot of followers, help me help you get them. And it sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a little bit and I realized that there was no interaction. I mean, it was like a instantly yes, but after a week or so, gone. There was no long-term gain from writers left, especially, but there are other ones. There's art lift. There's a, it's not really lifting you up. If you want to recommend people, great. Say why you recommend them, do an individual at a time and lift them up and say, hey, I really like this person, this artist, this writer, this, and recommend them. But it's not gaming the system. Okay. It's, it's a lot like groups helping you get to, and again, I love ASC, I love DOT, but we help each other get to affiliate. And then there's like no growth. And so people have to figure out how to grow their channels, their social media, their everything. And you can't just expect it to just always be like that. You have to find an authentic voice, a way to bring people into what you're sharing. So. Okay, should we hit the next question, or do we have any? I'll double check the in between things.
Shades is in Discord.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's add her. I'll let her know. Hop in. Then I'll rearrange the screen. So we'll let her get on. So if you guys have any questions, this is a good time to chat. I don't see any in there. I should have pulled up the queue. I didn't get that done. So maybe on break I'll pull up the queue so we don't miss anything. So but
yeah, no, the following kind of speaks to the bigger issue on social media of filter bubbling. So for example, the Game of Tomes community has it where you only know Game of Tomes streamers sometimes. And it's kind of an issue that a lot of researchers are looking to try and figure out how to pop the bubble and try and get out of your filter bubble. But it's something that's really hard to do and figure out, how you can interact with other communities or how you can get into other subgroups. And I think that's probably the biggest barrier to growth in the writing community, because we all love our little clusters. But yeah.
Well, welcome, Sandra. Good to see you. So glad you could make it.
I almost didn't. Honestly, I almost didn't.
You're here?
I was still asleep a couple of minutes ago, to be totally honest. My roommate asked me, wasn't your panel thing at 6 a.m.? No, it's at 6 a.m. It's 7 a.m.
Ouch.
Well, you're here. Glad you could be with us. So we had just answered follow for follow and why it's bad. Did you have anything to add to that?
I'm pretty sure you probably covered it, but yeah, no. The main thing that is wrong with follow for follow that might not have been touched on is just that it's false. I mean, I did do follow for follow before. Back when I was getting back into Twitter, I did follow for follow with some people in the writing community, and me and some other people really quickly realized that as soon as people got the follow from you, they quit following you, and it left you with really terrible numbers and stuff like that. So, yes, no.
Kitty loves you. Everybody's like, Kitty!
Kitty!
But yeah, no, just I learned the hard way. Just don't follow for follow. It's not worth
Same.
destroying your numbers that way.
Yeah. So again, when I introduced the panel, I was like, yes, the part, I'm not an expert. I'm here to share mistakes I've made.
Yeah.
So
I did used to do social media stuff for a living, but it's been 20 years now.
some of it will still be relevant though. So so we didn't get to, while we're kind of in between questions, I'm going to share your links. Do you want to give a really quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll go on to the next question?
I'm Sandra Fikes. Most people can find me online as Phantascene. I'm a writer. I used to do social media marketing and stuff like that back when it all started, and I'm being attacked by cats. This is my kitty cat demon. There we go.
Okay, well, let's get into the next question. Do you curate your feeds and who you follow? So who wants to go first on this one?
No, but maybe I should, is the honest answer. Since I'm not actively running social media for myself at the minute, I kind of have to gain the term social media, but that's more a place I go to info dump people rather than kind of seek new followers out at the moment. But there is a lot of merit to like having people that you're following it be in similar circles to you, especially when, you know, someone's oh, what's this Game of Tomes thing, and they go to look at our follower list and they're like, oh, okay, these people follow Wild Anvil, they follow Kate Kavanagh, they follow these people in the writing community I know of, like clearly that this is the right kind of person for me. Yeah, that's kind of what I think. And also then you're aware of what's happening in the community, and that's such a big thing, to kind of be aware of like certain community events that are happening so you can engage with them or you can comment on them, that kind of thing.
Coolness. Sandra, go ahead.
Most of mine is just, you know, the only social media that I really use is Twitter, and the only people that I follow on there are either in the gaming community or the writing community. And because those are the only ones I really interact with, those are usually the only ones that follow me back. So I guess in a way it naturally does itself, just because I don't socialize that much.
Okay, I think we have a question real quick. Let's get back to that one. I'll finish answering from me, and then we'll answer Annabelle's question here. So, do I curate my feeds? I have learned to start doing that. If people would follow me, a lot of times I would just automatically follow back because I was like, oh, thank you. But some of the people, as Melody had said, that it is a community, and there are some people I don't really want to be associated with. In some of the tags I followed, I'm like, oh yeah, this is so not what I want to be involved in. So, because I follow a fair number of artists and things, and I will like, there's some artists I absolutely love sharing their work, and because I love them and I want to help them out, and I can't always afford to buy work, so I can help share. And so, but there are some, when you kind of follow through on tags or people they follow or follow them, there's sometimes things that I just don't want to be involved with, like cryptocurrency or whatever, you know, or NFTs. No, thank you. But I have started to kind of, if somebody follows me, I'll go check out their profile and say, is this somebody I really, really want to follow back? And to my understanding, if you follow more people than follow you, it's a really bad trend, especially in Twitter. So you want to kind of start balancing that out. And so I don't automatically follow anymore. So this is part of why I added that question there, because the people to follow are usually the ones that have a lot of followers and they don't follow a lot. So I'm trying to rebalance that. And it's not, I won't follow you back, but if I know you, if I like what you have, I will follow back. But if you don't, or you're complaining a lot, because I try to keep positivity on my channel, then I probably won't. So my 2 cents on that. So, anything else before we hit Annabelle's question?
There's a lot of good stuff on chat I really want to talk about. So I'm gonna cover this really briefly. My whole undergrad dissertation was about the idea of algorithmic imaginaries. This idea of like, oh, the algorithm is being quirky today and showing me X. The algorithm doesn't have agency. It's not actually showing you things and being an active thing. And there's a lot of misinformation that some people know how the algorithm works. So for example, if you become a famous YouTuber, you'll be given someone from YouTube to help you manage your channel. And they'll be like, oh, you need to post like X amount of times a week and that kind of thing. In reality, that information is not like based in much. It's kind of like the trend that's going around at the minute of you should post 3 times a day on TikTok. And it's like that has no basis in anything, even if TikTok has told you to do that. Like it doesn't have any real like numerical basis to it. And like algorithms, as Trim has been saying in chat, it's such a big black box that like researchers or even people who have made the algorithms do not know how they work fully, and we're still kind of figuring it out, and it's just such a black box of knowledge. So my like one big thing is like avoid algorithmic knowledge brokers or people who say they know how the algorithm works. Just because they're having great success on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram doesn't necessarily mean that what they're doing is going to help you. But yeah, algorithmic knowledge brokers, beware.
Yeah. Thank you very much. That's a really, really good point too, because there are a lot of people saying they know what's going on and they don't necessarily. So I pulled up my request queue because last time I forgot to do that. And now I have a lot of stuff in there. So I'm going to clean it up so I know what we've got here. So pardon me, I should have done this before, but there's only so much I can get done in the morning. So we do have one question, and we have 3 questions in the queue right now. The first one is, how important is consistency with posting? Really, everyone says has a magic number of times per post per week or whatever. Does it really matter? You may have just covered this, but feel free to go ahead and pop in on that.
Melody, did you have anything to add there?
Yes, I can. Consistency, they always say consistency is key on social media, which like, yeah, sure, like some of the numbers suggest that, but the idea of there being a magic number of like you should post X amount of times a week or a day doesn't really, like there's not a lot of evidence behind that. And especially a lot of the issue we have as writers in our writing community is that we're a very small community, and sometimes applying what works in the cosmetics industry or in the beauty and wellness industry isn't going to be the same for us. Like we do not need to be posting on TikTok 3 times a day. Maybe the beauty and wellness gurus do need to post on TikTok 3 times a day, but like it's very fluid and difficult to kind of map. I think consistency is good for us as people who are posting in terms of getting ourselves into that rhythm of like, I'm going to post this today, or I'm going to make sure like I've kind of checked in with my followers. But yeah. And then again, this whole idea of like, oh, the algorithm favors consistency. Maybe it did, but it's kind of showing that maybe it's not anymore. There's a lot of ambiguity to it, and we just don't know. So don't take people's word to heart when they're telling you to post a certain amount of times.
And as I understand, the algorithms change a lot. So what worked a year ago, a couple months ago, may not work necessarily right now. So if you're gaming algorithms, good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah, my big thing is with the post X number of times a day is consistency. It keeps me, you know, I'll go and I'll check Twitter. I don't post multiple times a day, by the way. I post maybe once a blue moon. But it gets you into consistency. It's just like writing every day. If you get in the habit of writing every day, your writing is going to improve and everything like that. If you get into the habit of going in the morning, get your coffee, tea, whatever, sit down, check Twitter, send out a tweet. Years ago, in the 80s and 90s, I think, the late 80s, by the way, you would post your blog posts early in the morning or late at night because that would keep them up there in the metrics. You would be higher on Google's search engine all night long because you had posted at a certain time of night and it kept you in that single position. And I think that's probably where a lot of the you need to post this number of times a day came from, is just the old mindset of if you post when you go to sleep at night, you're still going to be at the top of the list when you wake up in the morning. Mindsets from those days. So, yeah. I'd say do it for what fits your schedule.
Definitely. Can I add something into this for tools? A lot of people talk about, post every day. My brain can only handle so many, I'm doing this and then I'm doing this and then I'm doing this. And afterward, my brain is just melted down. And so what I've started to do is I schedule my posts. I found Slack Social. I have to pay for it, but it can post to the ones that I want to post to. And there's various platforms that can do this. Some are free, some are not. Some have limitations. So you go check them out. I've used Later. I've used Buffer. I've used Slack Social. I like Slack Social best, better pricing and things, but it allows me to queue up all of my posts and it does it for me. So I don't have to be there constantly and using up the spoons that I have mentally. So do you guys have anything to add to that?
No, I've done the same thing with the Game at Home social media. I had a plan from the 1st of June to the 30th of June for like a post every day. Instagram had other plans. I'm sure if you're in the Game at Homes community, you know the struggles I've had to get that account. So we've had to change things up. But so for Instagram, since it's a very visual platform, I just get the template for Instagram and I color map what posts are going where, so it looks really pretty and nice. I'm not doing that because I think it's going to get us more followers. I'm doing that because I enjoy it. And at the end of the day, if you're doing social media to get followers, yeah, sure, that's one of the reasons you're on social media. But don't sit down and post because, oh, yeah, I'm a writer. Oh, I need to get people to read my book. Okay, right, I'm just going to post and then hopefully that'll get me some followers. Because if it becomes a laborious task, then maybe step away or choose a different platform.
And that relates to a question we'll hit later. So
You saying tools there. Something that I found and have not used anywhere near as much as I should be using it is Twitter actually put out a PDF that you can go in and edit that is a media marketing planner. And it's like this editable PDF that has the entire year laid out with, you can write the tweets that you would like to send out and just plan, I need to do this
nice.
for this event and everything like that. Just plan your marketing campaign for the whole year.
That would be handy for book releases.
Yeah.
It's like Canva has a similar thing. It's a paid option. And I'm like, ooh, I can say I'm investing in my future by, trying it out and seeing how I deal with it. And that kind of comes with like the whole brand kit situation and like, having like Instagram templates to map out color stories and all that.
Yeah, the Twitter one is a free PDF, but you kind of have to, I only got it because I was going through my email one day and they'd sent it to me as a business thing. So
I think there are other social media content planners out there if you like hit Etsy or something and find one that works for you. So, so let's see if we can hit. We got a couple more questions in the queue here. Annabelle asked, following up on curating feeds, do you curate your page as well? Like, I have 3 different Instagrams, personal, planning, writing, but I cannot keep up with all 3. Is keeping your social media topic specific beneficial, or does it come across as fake? That's a lot of questions in one there, but let's see what we can do to help.
I was trying to keep up with that question there, and I think I missed something.
I can post it again in chat.
Okay.
I will repost it in chat so people know what we're answering. So this idea of curating feeds and pages, and if you should separate things. Personally, because we're such a small community, I don't think it's necessary. I think if we were in a bigger industry, then yes, maybe. And this idea of separating personal from writing, I think that's a very, very individual decision to make. Personally, I really like when I'm following a writing streamer and I go to their social media and they're just having a rant about tacos. And I'm like, you're a real person. This is hilarious. I would like to follow you and interact with you and talk to you like as a real person. And I think you can still be personal on your writing pages and not be really specific about your daily life.
Yes, please, not real specific.
Yeah. But I feel like there's kind of, everyone's like, oh, social media, I have to be very professional on my writer page. Like, I want banter. I want to be able to send you memes and have that kind of content co-creation where we're having this discussion on Twitter and it's just a meme war. And I think I think separating the personal planning and writing aspects of your life kind of not only is a bigger burden on yourself, but also is kind of you're either going to end up with accounts that have very similar follower bases, and it's going to be difficult to grow them because you've got 3 Instagram pages to maintain, or it's just going to sound like some of the more writing focused ones might sound very, very automated, of like you're just giving out advice. Whereas if you link in the personal, it's like, oh, this is a person going through their writing journey. So I'm definitely more for like keeping to as few social media accounts as possible, but everyone has a different style and likes to do things a different way.
And I think there are reasons you may want to, depending on what you're writing. Yesterday we had somebody come in and are like, do I have to show my face on my page for my press kit? And they were like, because I have a job that would fire me if they found out what I write. And yes, then yes, please separate things out. But you have to look at what you can handle, what works best for you. There's a couple authors I follow. They post everything to the same thing, and there's some that don't. So find what works for you and what you can manage.
It's like authors having multiple names for different book genres they're writing. Like someone writes a horror book and they have an author name for that, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to write a romance book, and then they have a different author name for that. It's like that for social media, like Satrium saying in chat, if you're going to have different audiences, make different accounts. Yeah, I like that advice.
Yeah, I was also a part of the excuse me, I was also a part of the whole paid to blog thing years ago for a little while. We were encouraged not to just be all businesslike when we were doing that sort of stuff, because people don't want to just, if I go and visit somebody's social media, it's because I want to know more about that person. I want to know about their writing and everything like that, but I also would like to know about them. One of my favorite people to see posting on Twitter right now, he works in the game industry, and he's posting pictures of the paintings that he's doing in addition to other stuff, and they're cross-chatting about people that are, they're talking about the game, they're talking about the new branding that they just did for their studio. He's posting pictures that he's painting at home. It's just a nice, calm, casual atmosphere, and I just love it. Checking out the cross chatter in that guy's Twitter. So
We are at the 25 minutes of chat mark where we should probably take a break. So we are going to take a short break. I'm going to chat with my crew here to see if it's going to be a 5 or 10 minute break. What do we need, people? 5 or 10 minutes.
I'm good with just 5.
yeah, like
All right. So we will do
give me
a
enough time to grab my water.
5-minute break. We will see you guys in a couple minutes. I think we have quite a few more questions to go through, and we have more stuff to share. So we will take a 5-minute break. We will see you guys in a couple minutes. Hello, hello. Welcome again. We are back. How did you guys do? Did you guys all, get up and move around, grab your drinks and stuff?
Grab my water.
So I'm almost out of coffee, but I do have water. So make sure, as the self-care mafia leader, put on my hat.
Hydrate.
Yes, y'all better be taking care of yourself.
Hey, I got sleep last night instead of staying awake all night. So.
Yay!
I tried to make sure too. All right. So Kit Falvo says, I ate cookie dough. What a rebel you are. So, all right, we still have several questions. So let's get into this, even though I would love to be chaotic right now.
We do one of these where we're chaotic.
Well, Melody is part of the Chaos Cartel, so
We're ready. This is the first water fight. It's fine.
So let's get into what are the different platforms best for, because there's kind of some questions that kind of relate to that, and I think we can knock those out. Anybody want to start first? Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a quote from Janet. Hopefully she doesn't mind sharing this quote. But Janet from World Anvil had said, consider Twitter as a top funnel organic marketing. It's literally getting your brand out there and making sure your followers remember you. It's more important than advertising. So I'm trying to summarize it because I know it was in the Sage channel. I shouldn't share everything that she had, but it was like really, really important to know. So yes, Eli, I see you. So anyway, so we'll start out with that. If anybody has particular social media groups or in general, talking to groups and audiences and whatnot, go for it.
Big question. Very, very different answers from whoever you ask. In general, Twitter at the moment TikTok is probably the best for discoverability if you're wanting to just share a message or entertain yourself, just because it's very unpredictable how it's sharing your information. Following that is going to be Twitter for discoverability, just because of the way the hashtag system works. And then you kind of have stuff like Instagram, where there's a bit less discoverability. It's more you have to get into someone's bubble and like start using the same hashtags or get featured by someone to kind of get around. But it all comes back to what kind of content you want to share. There's kind of a rubric that I want to drop in chat of like the 4 types of content you can share on social media, which is informational content, entertaining content, remunerative content, which is like advertising content, and then relational content, which is more like personal, like, hey, I just spilled my coffee. Who else has spilled their coffee kind of thing. And I think it's very different, and it depends on what kind of style you use. Like if you're someone who loves long text posts and like you love like writing things out, Twitter, go there. If you're someone who's much more visual, Instagram, use that. And I feel like a lot of it is just figuring out what platform feels right for you, because for some people they can make a TikTok in 10 minutes, boom, done. When I make a TikTok, it's a whole ordeal of like, is this right? Do I need to edit this video down more? Yeah, and there's not really any hard and fast rules, which is kind of the one rhetoric I want people to take away from this panel is if someone is giving you a hard rule for social media, they are a liar. There are no rules. It is anyone's game. We are cowboys.
Sandra, do you have any thoughts?
Being an older, grew up with the social media stuff, I kind of think, Twitter's going through a bunch of changes right now, but I still think it is the place to kind of get started. If you just post one thing, start with Twitter, in my opinion, because like she said, you can use it to an advantage to get noticed on there still.
Mhm.
A lot of people say Tumblr is dead. I haven't used Tumblr in quite a while, but it would
I'm
be the
still
first
there.
it would be the first one that I would go to when I get my novel cover built, because when I was using it back about 3 or 4 years ago, it was so easy to just put pictures in to Tumblr, and people love sharing good pictures. You could get a conversation going on an image and people would share it. And I had a couple, they weren't huge, but they went pretty far in the little area that I was in on Tumblr. So I think both of those still have their really good uses. If you learn what your social media is best for, um, and only pick like one or two at a time to learn about so that you're not overloading yourself. So
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, some of the advice I'd gotten, and it's very generalized, so I felt it was more solid advice, was that you look at your audience, especially if you're writing a book and wanting to get your information about your book out there. Certain age groups will be on certain platforms, not necessarily exclusively, because I'm one of those oddballs. I'm on a lot of different platforms for my age group. I'm not the stereotypical only Facebook. I can't stand Facebook. But, if I'm writing an urban fantasy that I want to focus on early 20s to mid 30s, probably, Facebook might be okay. Instagram is going to be there, maybe TikTok. So you have to look at some of the things that you need to where you should be. And then some things may not work as you expected, and you're going to have to adjust. So that was that. And then also be yourself. Don't be something just, to get likes. Be you. Eli had talked about, I am so not professional on social media. I was like, you don't have to be. Eli is Eli, and we love Eli for being Eli. So
I do think I just remembered, so there's this for Twitter, I feel like it probably is the best to start with, because you kind of have this whole ethos of co-creation where you can like interact with someone directly and have like a comment thread, whereas I feel like on a lot of other social media platforms you don't kind of get that direct thing, it's more in DMs. Whereas like for Twitter, I find it so much fun to like be running the Game of Tomes page and then see Eli makes a post and I just respond with a bunch of Elmo emotes, but like I'm the Game of Tomes Twitter account, and it's like, what is Game of Tomes doing? But I love that kind of like co-creation, and that's kind of something that at the minute is where social media is going. So like TikTok has the whole remix culture of like you have an audio and then you put your own spin on it, and like this kind of co-creation is something which is not as labor intensive as like having to make your own thing, but it's still really rewarding to kind of have that kind of like interaction.
yeah, the interaction, the natural interaction is a lot of fun. That's part of why I started the VSS collab, the very short stories. I wanted ways to share what I do naturally anyway. And a lot of the tags didn't encourage, like you might get a little bit of retweet, but I wanted people to interact. And yes, we have some of the kind of follow for follow, but we are trying to get out there. We're interacting with some of the other tags. We're trying to do some other things. And anybody who posts on there, I try to retweet and help them out on the VSS collab page so that it can kind of up their statistics. So there's this group creation, and I'm trying to encourage people to create a story over time so that they have something. So there's definitely something to the group creation, and we are seeing growth. I'm not saying it's terrific growth, but I'm seeing growth, and it's not just the follow for follow. You know, I'm excited to see what this is doing. So, Sandra, did you have anything to add?
Don't think so. I will say once you do start interacting in the comments and stuff like that, and just being a part of the group, you'll learn pretty quick you don't have to do follow for follow at all.
Yeah.
Because if you're interacting, if you're being a part of the group and passionate about what's going on with that group, people are going to want to follow you. And I've had a lot of people in the gaming community follow me because I'm interacting with people about a specific game, and I will make comments on a writer's thing. I'll just say, you know, there's this thing going around the writing community that they ask, what's your MC's thoughts about this or whatever? And I'll respond to those things. Somebody will see my tweet, come check me out and follow me because they like the looks of what I'm doing. So
I was gonna go somewhere. Gone forever. Sorry. Talking about let's see what I'm gonna check the questions, but then we can kind of see if we want to go on.
Yeah,
we've got
there's
about
a couple of them there that I've seen, but I think there's a few that we missed.
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, we a lot more questions than yesterday, so this is great. So Dad says, I have an account on Twitter. I go to it now and again. If I want to actually use it effectively, do I have to remove and start over? I would say no.
No. Don't start over.
Definitely not. I actually had this issue where in the Stone Age, 2007, I made my Twitter account. I think it was 2007. And it was specifically made for online content copywriting, online advertising stuff. And I was hanging out with people and chatting with people, and then I got out of it for years. I didn't touch it because life knocked me away from that type of stuff. I went back and I looked at it and I thought, you know what? I should just burn it all down, restart, delete it. This is not what I want to be doing anymore. No, instead I went to the writing community and I just started rebranding it as my writing Twitter. And then I got into the Twitch things and more into being more open that, hey, I like video games. Because video games for women wasn't exactly safe for a little while. But I started being more outspoken about, yeah, I am a gamer. And I didn't start a new one. I just folded that straight into my Twitter. And I haven't seen where it's been detrimental in any manner to either my personal tweeting, my business for my writing, or my just hanging out with people in the gaming community. They all blend together nicely, in my opinion. I don't go there as often as I should, but no, don't tear it apart and rebuild it. Just transition it into what you want it to be now.
Definitely.
Keep your base. The people that aren't interested in what you're doing now will leave, but more people will come and others will go, oh, hey, they are doing something interesting, and they'll stay. And that's the experience that I had.
Yeah. Brian just had a comment, and I had to comment while you were answering. I was like, Brian said, my 12-year-old, sorry, but Twitter's outdated, guys. Shakes head. And I was like, for her age, maybe. I mean, my kids don't have, I have an adult son and just about adult daughter. They would never be on Twitter. They don't open their email. It's just, again, you have to hit the audience, if you can, but also be on a platform you like. So there's this balance. So, and yes, all the hand waving.
Also, Twitter's the biggest one that we have at the minute. It's got about 300 million active daily users, in contrast to TikTok, which has less than 10 million. It's it's just under 9 million, I think was the last count last month.
Good point.
But yeah, definitely, if you don't know where your audience is, go with wherever the most people are, which is Twitter, which I know some people are going to be like, oh, no one uses Twitter anymore. There are still active users. They are still out there, and it is where the majority of people are, excluding Facebook, which don't give us data on their daily active users. But, you know.
Yeah, me and Facebook. But everybody has their preferences. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also restarting a channel is hard. It's hard to get started again. So I would definitely recommend not doing that. I accidentally did that with my Tumblr account. Long story, not going into it. Accidentally. It's been a pain. So Brian says, I get to fold my arms and look smug. Okay. Should we keep going through the questions? Because we are getting close to time, and all of our questions are like long-term answers. So I think maybe we should focus on the questions that are coming in, and then if we can, fill out some of the other things. So Cotton Spun says, what information can you share about best practices for creating social media presences for fictional personas? Ooh, I hadn't thought about that one.
I can run with that one. Back in the day, a couple of years ago, I ran a Tumblr account. I'm not going to go into too much about the Tumblr account because I was doxxed. My personal information was leaked, so we're kind of going to skirt around this. But I had a digital persona online for years, and a lot of like, what advice can I give about that situation? Again, it kind of depends what you want to do. If you're wanting a persona which is more of a pseudonym, like you just don't want people to know your real name, then be yourself, just have a different name. If you're looking for a persona where it's like, I want to be someone who motivates others, and that's what I want my online personality to be, definitely look into scheduling your content and making sure you write it when you're in that headspace, so there isn't that kind of inconsistency. I will say that making social media accounts for personas is a lot more work, just in terms of the mental load, because it's not a case of, I feel like when I was a teenager, I would just open up the stuff on my phone and kind of reply in character, but I was doing that 24/7 a day and kind of living and breathing that character, which maybe isn't the best. So I think definitely having focused times of when you are online as that character is probably something that can help with the longevity of that situation, and being like, okay, for half an hour a day, I'm going to log on and I'm going to, embody this persona that I want to be. If that persona is someone that's going to be encouraging other people, it's like, okay, I'm going to hype myself up and I'm going to be ready to encourage others. And I think it's something difficult to navigate, and it kind of speaks to this idea of self-branding and how as writers we kind of have a self-brand. So I think to some extent everyone has a persona that they have online, but I think what Cotton might be talking about here is ones which are like more exaggerated and much more like disconnected from the self, which are still easily done. But yeah, my main advice is just determine times where you're going to be that persona. I think will like help with your mental load.
So I'll pop in afterwards. I seriously thought about opening up a Twitter account for one of the characters in my book so that we could have snarky replies. And I realized how much extra work that would be, so I opted not to. I opted to instead then create, use my Dinobot on my Discord as my snarky reply. Nakamura Sensei has all the answers, and I made commands on there. So it was less taxing on me, but I seriously thought it would have been fun, but I didn't. I thought I would use up all my creativity running that account. So you have to figure out what you have spoons for and what is appropriate for you. So
now I am looking at this question from a totally different angle. I'm a role player from long back. I role played in Final Fantasy XIV for years. Somewhere floating around on Tumblr, there is an account for a Mikote who is living in the mist, has 3 adopted children, and is a member of the Maelstrom. He's a lieutenant, just got promoted as of a couple of weeks before I quit posting. And he's gone through a divorce. So yeah, I was posting. I would go role play with my friends in Final Fantasy. We would go do an event thing, go fight the enemy with our characters. And then we have personas for those characters on Tumblr, where we are keeping up with what's going on with the character through the Tumblr posts. And, you know, I would have post what he did when he got home from the mission or something like that. I have considered doing that sort of thing for characters in books, but you know what? I write epic fantasy. If I was writing like a contemporary story, yes, I would set up a post for. I have a story about an archaeologist. I would consider setting up a post thing clearly branded that this is a fictional character, would be my advice. Make sure nobody can go, I was tricked. I thought this was a real person I was talking to. No, make sure that they know it is a fictional character that they're interacting with. And use it to advertise your book. You know, have your snarky witch from the suburbs talking about the spell that she just did to make her roses grow better in her garden. And I think it would be a really good way to just kind of have a little bit of fun with your characters and get to know your characters better.
Yeah.
Unfollow it.
I did
Untalk to them.
I did a similar thing with like I'd make blogs for my characters, and I'm like really considering do it. Like I did a study on Tumblr a couple of months ago, and this whole idea of Tumblr being dead I could talk about for days. I'm not going to. We don't have time. But part of me is like, oh, Tumblr account, character time. Now what I do instead is I write in character letters, which is not social media related at all, but it is the kind of same headspace of like you write as your character for a certain amount of time a day. Which is lots of fun and really helps you to get to know them and the universe.
That's what I do with my VSSs. It's like 280 characters of I get to be a different character. It's fun.
Look at all the ones for the dogs and the cats that are talking on Twitter and stuff like that. Tumblr when their parents aren't, well, they're not their parents. Their owners aren't home and they're on the computer.
Okay, go ahead and laugh, but I follow.
Dog needs to die.
I follow the Count from Sesame Street, and he just posts a number, and it's fabulous because everyone should get that ha 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 ha, and I'm like, yes, that's what I loved as a little kid. So I have to follow it. Yes, Dork Me follows the Count from Sesame Street because I love it. So, we have a couple more questions, but Melody had some fabulous stuff on tags. So we're going to switch over to that, and then we'll answer what questions we can. Yeah. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, so which one are you going to pull up first? And I will make sure that we can see that on screen.
So it's just the bar chart will show. That'll keep things simple.
Okay, I will pop that over here.
So yeah, if people don't know, I'm doing my dissertation at the moment, and I research social media data. So just as a fun thing, because I'm basically at the minute I'm curating the algorithm that I use to scrape data. So this is not my algorithm I've used something that's publicly accessible. And I just went and I searched the writing community hashtag. And I did this yesterday, and it was a study that was only run for 24 hours. And I just wanted to see what were the most used hashtags in that time, because I kind of wanted to come to this panel and give you all some like real data you can walk away with and like some real insight. So obviously the biggest hashtag for the writing community on Twitter is the Writers of Twitter hashtag. In the 24-hour period, it got 899 individual posts. But then you had one of the hashtags that showed up was Writers Lift, which we talked about at the beginning of this stream, and how that was a follow for follow hashtag. So a lot of the noise surrounding that was a lot of inauthentic tweeting or tweeting that isn't going to give you a lot of gains. But then you had stuff like writers and book, writing community, writers community. And mainly I just wanted to kind of pull this up and stream and just kind of show you like a rough idea of what kind of hashtags are working on Twitter at the moment. Because of the timescale in which this data was collected, we're going to get stuff like shameless self-promo Friday, shameless self-promo Saturday, that kind of thing, because it was data recorded on a Saturday. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting to see that Writers of Twitter was leagues ahead of Authors of Twitter, because for some reason in my head I was like, oh, isn't Authors of Twitter like more widespread?
Yeah, and I had no idea that tag was there.
And
Could be using it.
The writing community.
Yeah.
When we were doing the writing community stuff a couple of years ago, we realized that we were having that typo where there was too many M's in it. So it just kind of got adopted that you're using writing community and then writing community. So yeah, that's actually a lot of the people in the writing community that, at least that I knew of, will post both of those. So that's why those are both like real close together, and why there's that weird, why is there an extra M in that one? It was adopted.
Yeah, and I will share this chart on the CONduit Discord server after the
thank you,
this has happened, so people can see it. But yeah, this is, yeah, and I guess as Cotton Spin is saying, I guess writing is more inclusive than author, because there's this like whole idea of the publishing gap, and I feel a lot of people feel more comfortable calling themselves a writer than an author. But yeah, this is just a snapshot. I'm getting ready to collect data on NaNoWriMo. And that's obviously when we're going to see the massive spike in the writing community being online, and we'll get some real like hard data about these are the hashtags you should be using if you want to get visibility and you want to be seen. So yeah, we shall see. But yeah, I just wanted to share that, and I'll post it in CONduit afterwards. I just kind of wanted to show some data and be like, hey, look, we can provide information on this.
And I just requested a social media follow-up channel, so they should get that up pretty quick.
Awesome.
What is the spell of the bottom with the long blue line? Writers of Twitter, WITERS of Twitter. Thank you, Melody. Because I was like, the old lady glasses, bifocals, not working.
And you, Writers O Twitter?
Of. It should be of.
Of. Yeah. Oh. I can't spell.
Love
it's
typos.
Fine. We have, you know what I mean.
Writers of.
Well, now we're going to have this whole new thing going on where people are going to be going, Writers of Twitter. And we'll have this whole new hashtag that's being used, and we'll know what it means.
And one thing,
Writers soft Twitter.
Thing on this. So where is it? There's also the am writing hashtag, which is just underneath Authors of Twitter here. But am writing is also used to be like, am writing horror, am writing romance, and it's a way to connect with other writers and kind of see what other people are doing. And that did have those hashtags did have a lot of hits on Twitter as well, but it kind of wasn't really enough for the data here. I scraped about, it was like 3,500 tweets or something in the end, and these were the top. These were the hashtags that had more than 20 kind of individual tweets in that 24-hour period. But yeah.
Okay. Let's get back to questions then. Thank you for sharing that. Did I go back to panel guests? There we go. The next question was a really good one, brought by author Brian Liu. They're all good, but this one is something I've had to deal with. So how do you handle negative comment overload? Do you look at the comments? Should you respond? Anybody want to tackle that, or should I start?
You can start on this one.
Let y'all kind of process and filter.
I can tackle it, but you go ahead and start.
I'll start. I'll be the brave one. Oh, thank you for the follow, Sun Scoldering. Really appreciate it. So part of what I do is, like I said, I kind of curate what I see. I haven't had a lot of negative comments, but if people are being butts online, I block them. I don't take that. I don't need that in my life. There are times when you just have to step away, you know, especially like on YouTube, it's much more prevalent to see a whole bunch, you know, suddenly people will just hate on something and you're like, oh, I'm fun following, you're horrible, you know. That's when you might have to just step away, not read them for a while, and come back later, you know. And then, like I said, you know, block or just, I hate to say ignore it because it's really, really hard and it can be hurtful, okay? But it's, to me, a fair amount of it is like getting edits back from manuscript. You're getting feedback, and okay, hateful comments I'm not going to be grateful for, but helpful comments I will be grateful for, even if it hurts. So there's this balance of you need a thick skin, and then you're just like, okay, I'm not being on social media today or next week at all, you know. So there is definitely a balance, but feel free to block people. You are not obligated to be yelled at. You are not their whipping horse, okay? You are not. You are a person, and if they can't treat you like a person, they're not worth it. So,
yeah. And I think following on from that, a lot of social media platforms are having tools to restrict comments as well. So the negative person will still think they're posting and that you can see them, when in actuality only they see what they're commenting and no one else does. It's really useful. I think that's mainly on Instagram at the moment. I don't believe Twitter has the same thing. But yeah, with sometimes with hateful comments, you can either leave them to sit or you delete them or you block them. And I think that just kind of is up to personal preference. And, you know, a lot of the times we might, you know, I've deleted stuff in the past because I don't want someone coming to my rescue and stepping in to defend me because I've decided not to interact. But I know if I leave that post there, someone's going to try and come to my rescue maybe and kind of start a dialogue. And it's like, no, I don't want a dialogue. I just don't want, you know, to see them. So that's why I find the Instagram restrict option really, really good. And then obviously if it gets too much, you can end up blocking them. But sometimes it's kind of I don't know, I feel like restriction is a lot easier on Instagram because there's not any so-and-so has blocked me, how dare they not listen to my feedback. Whereas restriction is just like, oh, I'm sorry, I just have so many comments, I didn't see yours, apologies.
Yeah, the anonymity of the internet, unfortunately, a lot of people take that to allow them to be really mean on the internet. We all know
yes.
that. And a lot of people don't realize the internet's not as anonymous as some of them think. I say ignore them unless you want your brand to be that you are confronting these guys. You know, there is that entire demographic out there. But personally, I want my places to be safe places, places where people are going to be able to hang out and have a conversation without feeling like they're going to get attacked by somebody for a comment that they make. So if a comment is going to be harming my community, I have no problems removing the comment, blocking the person. You know, there was a time where I would engage them and just kind of try to turn it around on them sort of situations. But anymore, I've found the best defense against stuff like that. Delete it, move on. If they keep persisting, block them from your social media.
Not just social media, but Twitch and Discord too.
Yeah. You want your community to come first. Make sure that what you're interacting with is protecting your community and the people that have come to you because they enjoy being a part of your community. So that's my point on it.
Melody, you were going to jump in?
No, not any more to say on that really.
Okay.
I am scrolling through the questions and seeing if there's any. I'm like, I have a definitive answer for this kind of thing.
Okay.
But
well, we have one more, I think, but it was partially answered, but I think we can give a quick overview really quick. Eli said, sorry if this has been asked already, but how do you work with algorithms instead of constantly fighting them?
Mhm.
So I answered first last time, so somebody else gets a turn.
So, like, you know, as we said earlier, this idea of algorithms are black boxes. Anyone who says that they know how the algorithm work, they're a liar. They don't. The best thing you can do is consistency, I guess, but you don't have to do consistency as in I must post X amount of times per week. Just kind of like consistency of, you're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to try this social media thing, let me post, you know, 5 times in one day and then not touch it for 2 months. It's kind of like consistency doesn't always have to be like I post one tweet every 3 days. It can be just you're not overwhelming it, or you're not suddenly changing your behavior every couple of days. You just kind of have some kind of sense of predictability. And I think a lot of like trying to work with the algorithm is just seeing what hashtags people are using and kind of having sort of social media role models in the way and seeing who are they following, what are they doing. So for example, like for Game of Tones, what I've been looking into is what kind of people World Anvil follows, what kind of people, you know, so like really influential authors are following and that kind of thing, and seeing what sort of people I should be following or what sort of things should I be talking about. And I feel like locating role models in the community and seeing what they're doing can really help you understand, you know, how you want to behave in the community as well.
Excellent point. We are out of questions. We have just a couple more minutes.
I will say probably the best way to play the algorithm is to be nice to Skynet.
All hail the overlords.
So just for fun, let's take turns. And what are your favorite things to share about on social media?
Memes. Full stop.
Mean queen.
I am the it got cut out of the, we've been recording the videos for Game of Tomes, but this got cut out, but I was called the meme mistress, and I would like to take on that role. And this panel has inspired me to like do a TikTok, like do a Twitter takeover day where I have a character for Game of Tomes, and I just tweet as that character for a day, because who's going to stop me? I'm the only one with the passwords to those accounts. What's Sable going to do? Travel across the ocean and be like, Melody, get out? No,
We will hunt
not.
you down. Oh. So Sandra, what are your favorite things to share?
My favorite is being able to, my characters in my stories and the research that I do for them, and just kind of like, you know, I find out so much interesting, fascinating stuff about history. And this was something that, there was a panel on this the other day, the taking from history to write about stuff. And there is so many fascinating things that I dig up digging through history that I like to just kind of share about my story type things, you know, this fascinating fact that fits into my novel category, because that not only helps me because I can go back through and go, oh yeah, I wanted to write about this, but it also, I hope, helps other writers who will go, oh, I did not know that they sold that product in the late 1800s. Wow. Because there was some scary things coming out when they were first playing with electricity. So that type of stuff is what I love to share.
Oh, that is fun. For me, I like to show my geek side. I also like to show encouragement, because I've seen so much sadness, depression, negativity. I want to counteract that. But yeah, it's this balance between space stuff and Japanese culture stuff, and you know, you'll get through this kind of encouragement. So that's my, for lack of a online persona, but it's getting to share part of who I am in a fairly safe way, you know. So I share my favorite artists, my geeky space stuff, and Japanese factoids and things like this, and those are my favorite ones, and along with the very short stories. Those are essential to me. I try to do those almost every day. So, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that people really like to see from me back when I was actually doing it right, I live in Alaska. People love to hear about Alaska. So
Yes.
sharing, moose just walked through my front yard. Here, look, I took a video of it. That type of stuff is also really good.
I would encourage people, just to kind of jumping off on that, try not to dox yourself. Okay. This is the age of kind of scary things. And I have had some online scary experiences myself. This was years ago, before people really knew how to find where everybody was easily. But then it's also part of the reason I personally choose to use a pen name. So up to you guys, but be careful if you're sharing pictures of around your house. I mean, so I go to a park, and if I'm in a park, I don't show where the park is. I'm sharing pictures of my ferrets from the ground level, or just at a tree, or so that it's not identifiable. So,
and also on that note, if you're sharing something you took with your cell phone, keep in mind that cell phones have this tendency to put in your geographic location on videos.
I turned
you
mine
might
off.
want to shut that off
Yeah.
if you're going to be taking videos of around where you live. And I would like to, while we have a chance here, on this safety note, you're not as safe as you might think. I hate to tell you this, but no matter what precautions you take, I have a friend, one of my best friends, and she was actually did the whole, she wasn't in witness protection, but she did that level of thing to keep people from finding out where she lived because of stuff that was going on. And she disappeared. We couldn't get in touch with her. So me and another friend got really worried. And I said, okay, give me just a second. I jumped into the internet and told my friend, okay, this is her, this is where she lives. Do we call her? Well, the other friend didn't even hesitate. She called her immediately. And she reported back to me that it completely freaked our friend out. So when I got her back into AOL Instant Messenger, I said, you want to be really freaked out? This is where you live. This is the apartment in that building you live in. I was able to trace down exactly what floor she was on and everything. And nobody knew anything about her. She was completely, she had paid to have her identity erased online a couple of times. I tracked her down, and I am not all that computer savvy, and I did that to another person too. I have done that to 2 people where I was able to pinpoint, this is who they are, this is where they live.
That's scary to me. I would be like, please don't.
Yeah.
Please don't.
Those 2 people were special cases, but trust me, you are not as hidden on the internet as you think you are.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the location features of phones, just turn it off.
Yeah, Brian says, was asking, why would you do that to her? Because she's one of my sisters. We were really worried about her, and like I said, it was 2 of us that trust one another and her with our lives, and we absolutely love one another, and that's why we said, okay, we are scared what happened to her. And it didn't go beyond the 3 of us, but yeah, no, it took me about 20 minutes to find her.
Okay. I think we are at time, and this did hit uncomfortable levels for me, so let's hit other things.
Let's go out on a good note.
Yes. So I'm gonna double check the queue one more time. We have an empty queue. Booyah! Yay! But over on Discord, we do have some of the things so where we can kind of continue the conversation. I can't English. The conversation today. The follow-up social media channel is there if you guys want to chat with us more or think of questions later on. And Melody also shared the graph and then the different types of social media, the content that she had in there. So we are going to set up a raid to go raid Writers CONduit, and I really want to say thank you guys. Yeah, Daz, post that in the follow-up, okay? Because we're about to go raid. There, a safe question. How do you make a second Twitter account? Yeah, let's hit the
I have too many. I can tell you, it's fine.
Yeah, I have like 3. So,
I have 1.
but it works. You know, you do what works for you. So, we're going to set up the raid. My raid shout is Magical Tales. If you guys want to use that or don't have, I see variants on it. I'm not picky. That's just what I use. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. And I hope it was helpful getting to utilize our experiences and what worked and what didn't work. So.
And throughout the month of July, I will be writing my master's dissertation about co-writing communities on the internet. So if you do have like questions you want answered in real time, I will be around all of July streaming for Game of Tomes. So pop in then. That's me plugging myself at the end there. It's free real estate.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much. I'm going to pop us on to the outro and thank you. We will raid and then I'll turn off the transcripts and we'll get to chat in the Writers CONduit channel and the follow-up social media. See you guys there.